Hello, and welcome to the Very Creative Podcast. I'm your host, Gabriel Veiga. On this podcast, we're going to talk to creative minds just like me. I'm a writer, I'm an actor, now a podcast host. I just wrote my first mystery novel called Yesterday Is Not Yet Gone. And throughout the years, while finding my creative process and writing, I've always wondered how other people do it. What's their process? Do they wake up at 5:30 like me to write? They're not that insane. I hope I can get some tricks and things that other people do, steal from their toolbox, them stealing from my toolbox. So that's what we're doing on this podcast. We're going to talk to several different people. The obvious: actors, writers, singers, painters, musicians, you name it. But the less obvious, which is really fun for me, cooks, fashion designers, car makers. I want to talk to car makers. What does it take to make a car? What's the creative process for that? Surgeons. I want to get a surgeon on this podcast. If something goes wrong in an operation, I assume they have to think creatively, make a creative decision on how they're going to save a patient's life. I don't know anything about surgery. I just love the good doctor. But everyone is creative in their own way. And as a writer or an actor, figuring out how other people do it is fascinating for me. So this is going to be fun. This is the Very Creative Podcast with Gabriel Veiga. Today on the show, Jaylen Taylor.
So lit. I was like, yes, like let's go. I would write like a 5-page story about like all this crazy stuff. I always loved writing about magic when I was a kid. Grew up playing piano and violin, and my dad is a clarinet player. So they like it, and they like computer and things like that, but I mean, they are not artists first. They're scientists first. I have that privilege of having really belong parents, right? And then they see the potential of the discrimination and things that I could face as a Black woman. So my mom's like, listen, I don't want you to feel like, people are scary. I want you to feel confident in yourself to just do whatever you want to do.
This is the Very Creative Podcast. Jaylen Taylor, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for coming on my podcast.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So introduce yourself to everyone. You're
Okay.
from Georgia, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Jaylen. I just turned 21. Hey. I'm born in Mississippi, so I lived there for 14 years, and I moved to Georgia for high school. And now I go to NYU, and I study dramatic literature and Romance languages. So I study French and Spanish.
Dramatic literature. That's so cool.
So
And what's the other one?
Romance languages.
Romance languages. Wow.
I like writing and I like language. And I was like,
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I add on my sheet that you're an actor, you're a writer, you're a singer, podcaster, now a YouTuber, a lot of things. So, yeah.
I'm trying. A lot of it is just because there's nothing else going on in the world right now.
No.
I was like, okay, so I like to talk.
That's why I started this show.
Okay, might as well make myself a little podcast. Granted, I've only posted one episode and it's been a minute.
It's great though.
Thanks.
I listened to it. Yeah. It's called POV, right? Just to plug it out there. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for plugging me. No, yeah, I use Audacity to
Okay.
because I don't really know a lot about
I don't know anything. I don't know what Audacity is. That's a word I learned I think 2 days ago.
There you go. It's like a super cheap, free audio editing. So my computer is has too much stuff on it, so I was trying to edit. I had 45 minutes worth of audio, and I was trying to condense it to 20 minutes, and my computer crashed, and all of the editing was gone. And so I was just like, fuck. So I said, you know what, I'll wait. I'm gonna try again with the fresh mind, because I was just really tired at that point. I was like, I'll give it a break.
Yeah. It's hard, but the episode you put out is great. It's calling out a lot of people, which I like. It's you. I feel like it's you raw, like very like unfiltered, which I like. We can get into that at some point in the podcast why you're doing that, and it's fine. So, talk about a little bit about your life in Georgia before we get into the creative stuff.
Like quarantine life, or just like
How did you grow up?
oh yeah.
Yeah, but you can talk about quarantine too if you want.
I mean, it's weird because I tell people I'm from Georgia, but I technically only really spent 4 years here before I went to university, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't really truly feel like a Mississippian either. Like it's a very weird kind of hybrid thing. So I grew up in Mississippi, and that's where most of my childhood memories are, obviously.
Right.
And you know, Mississippi is a good place to grow up only because like I feel like you can really keep tabs on your children. If that makes it's good from like a parental point of view because there's not a whole lot of trouble that your kids can get into.
Yeah.
But being a little black girl growing up in Mississippi, there are a lot of really I don't know, nasty
Mm.
social complexes that I developed, I think. Um yeah,
Yeah. A bunch of racism is what you're saying.
to put it simply, yeah, people are racist. And it's like
Yeah.
it was never
Idiots.
overtly racist. Like no one was like calling me
Yeah.
names. But it was very much like I don't know, like being knowing in no uncertain terms that like no one thought I was an attractive person. Things like that, which
Right.
doesn't matter really, but like when you're a kid, that's like all that matters to you. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
watch enough Disney princess movies.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that matters is a man, right?
Mm.
So when you're growing up, it'll kind of mess with your brain a little bit, and people just making sure that you understand that you're just not as cool as the rest of us. Like
Mm-hmm.
we like you. You're a cool black. Like
Mm.
just just don't forget though that you're not the same as us. It was kind of like the subtext of like my whole childhood.
Yeah. And you mentioned that on your podcast or like both your YouTube and your podcast that I think if you can retell the story of the guy that at the football field or something. What did he say?
Yeah, okay. Well, I used to be in this acting troupe in middle school called GAT, which is so stupid. Youth acting troupe, whatever. We met every Saturday, and for some reason, like everyone was rehearsing for something, so it was just me and this kid.
Yeah.
I'll call him Wilfred.
Frederick.
I'll call him Frederick.
Yeah.
Because yeah. Anyway, so Frederick and I were talking, and I don't know where everyone else was, but it was just the two of us sitting in the theater alone. And he starts talking about like football games and like
Yeah.
for all the Southern people, like in the States, like you understand that football games was like where all the drama went down. Like that's where you would like ask somebody out. That's where you would like confess that you had a crush on somebody. Stupid shit like that. That's where it would happen, right? And so he starts talking about how his best friend really liked this girl and like was gonna like kiss her at the football game, and he like did it. And I was like, oh my god, like I'm sitting alone with this guy that I like, and he's talking about kissing. I'm like, yo, I'm in. I've made it.
You
And
were in like kissing subject or what
yes,
were you in?
I thought I thought it was the time. I thought he was gonna grab my face and like make
Oh,
it.
okay.
I was so ready. Granted, I was literally 13, but like whatever.
Yeah, yeah. You
I
already fantasized about it.
I was ready.
Yeah.
Practice in my head.
I had those moments. I
Yeah.
still have those moments. Yeah.
Like, okay, so like this is the time it's gonna happen.
Mm.
No one else is around. Like, and he says, I was really confused. Like he was so excited to like kiss this girl, but like I'm thinking to myself, why would you ever want to kiss a black girl? And I was like, first of all, I was like, I didn't even know the girl was black. I was very confused by that. I was like, okay, weird. And it was so strange to me because it almost felt like a confession almost. Like it's like, I don't know. Here's my racism. Like Do something.
Yeah, he literally said that to you.
No, yeah, those words exactly. Like, why would he ever want to kiss a black? There wasn't anyone else around.
Was he looking at somebody else or no?
Just us talking.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you know, but I am a black girl.
Obviously.
Like, it's not something that I can hide.
Yeah.
Something about me that's white passing. I'm quite obviously a black girl. So I was like, that's weird.
But did he think that was okay? Like, what are you to him? Like, I don't understand.
Honestly, I would love to hit him up and be like, hey, Frederick.
He's not worth it, but yeah.
Absolutely not worth it. Not worth my time. But I'm just curious, like, what was going through your head? And, like, why did you feel like it was okay to say that to me? Like, it's not obviously, but the fact that you looked me in my eyes and said that, like, weird.
It was like you're a plant or something. Like he was talking to himself. Like that's really weird.
It felt
you're an object.
Yeah, like I was not really there. It's so strange. And like honestly, what I think it might have been was like I think he probably felt that I probably had a crush on him, and it was this really, really messed up way of letting.
Oh wow, yeah.
Which is like, whoa. How about just say like, hey, I'm not interested.
Yeah, he didn't know how to how to say it to communicate like most people.
And like, granted, we were
at that age.
And like, I feel like, you know, when you're 13 years old and you're completely immersed in like a very racist culture, things like that don't really strike you as an odd thing to say. That's something you probably say to your, you know, racist granddad, and he's like, you get it, son, you know?
Crazy.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. I mean, like, you can, I've heard some messed up things, like, to turn off, like, people, but to use racism, it's just blowing my mind. Like, that's the first thing you would turn to.
Right. And what's interesting, though, I mean, like, now that we're on kind of the topic of, like, you know, like, dating and racism, things like that.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird now. The conversation has definitely changed. It's more of, like, whenever I'm talking to someone who is not Black, my first thought is, like, first of all, do they like Black girls? Which is just so weird. It's a very gross, kind of toxic question to ask yourself. But it's like, it's not just Black girls. I like all of my friends who are not white, we have the same thought. Like the first thought is like, does he like Asian girls? Like, why is he talking to me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the question becomes, okay, he likes Black girls, but like, does he like me? You know, is it like, am I like an adventurer? Am I like your rebellion? You know? Because so many examples of, you know, I mean, I've had guys come to me and be like, oh, like, you know, I've never been with a Black girl before. Is that supposed to be exciting for me? Like, is that supposed to be a turn on for me? Like, what do you think?
Is that a new thing? Like,
it's like, I'm not a new food you haven't tried.
Exactly. How are you supposed to take that?
No,
like, that's great that you're having this experience, buddy, but I'm not an experience, you know?
An experience. And like, I there was this one guy I was talking to, like, freshman year of college, and that was a weird situation for a lot of other reasons, but he made a very concerted effort to like let me know that his ex was Black. He was like, yeah, like, you know, like my last girlfriend was Black, and like I used to help her with her hair and stuff. And it's like, being a Black woman, you have to like think in your head, or at least for myself, I'm like, okay, like, good for you. I'm glad that you helped her out in that way. Like, yay, diversity. But also, I'm just like, why do you feel the need to tell me that? Like, are you saying it just because it's like, you know, a genuine conversation we're having good banter, and you just like bring that up? that's one thing, but it's another thing. It just feels like you're trying to prove something. You know? It's like, look at me. I've hung out with the Blacks before, and it's
I'm not racist.
Look at me, I'm not racist.
Nothing stays buried forever, especially not the past.
Yesterday is Not Yet Gone, a mystery novel by Gabriel Veiga. host of the Very Creative Podcast. Available now, paperback and digital. GabrielVeiga.com. Buy it now.
I guess that, like, all of that, like that racism and that living in that culture, like it must have sparked something in you creatively. Like it must have helped like create stuff, because that's what I do. Like I create because I'm fucking annoyed by stuff, and I want to like hypermasculinity and stupid things like that, like climate change, So yeah, I guess that helped you in a lot of ways.
I mean, like what I'm realizing, because I've just kind of ventured into the world of playwriting, and
yeah, their play is great. I hope it comes out.
Yeah, I entered it.
It will. I should say.
But yeah, so what I've realized, at least because I wrote that play in a playwriting course, right? And at least the way that like the workshop went for me, it became like.
Oh, you did a workshop. How was that?
Yeah. No, it was great. It was a lot of fun and very helpful for me, like in my creative process overall.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is like the way I kind of approach it and the way a lot of people I feel approach it is like I'm just trying to work out these problems, like things, different like turmoils that go on inside of myself. I'm trying to work it out with what I write. It's like I'm not going to purport to have any answers to anything. It's just like this is me actively trying to figure out how I feel about these things, and now play, I guess, because with that one it was a lot about actually exactly what we were just talking about like rape and dating and sex and all that stuff. It's just like, obviously there's a lot of me that's been injected into it. It was not supposed to be autobiographical, but it kind of became that.
But that's a process, So somebody was talking to me, a member of my family, and they were reading my book, and I won't get into details because I want people to read the book. And but they were like, "Oh, is this your high school experience?" I was like, "There's a lot of it in there. It's getting, it's a lot of me. The writing is a lot of me. My second book is not like a lot of me. I think I've shed the things. I've put that away now, It's therapy in a way, but yeah.
Absolutely therapy. And
so I get it, what you're saying.
Yeah. Like I think it's virtually impossible to create something without it, carrying your DNA. Like you made it. It's your baby. Of course it's going to be part of you, right?
Yeah. That's interesting though. You sometimes you want to write though because you're like, oh, this is annoying. I remember I was in university and I was annoyed by a teacher, and I just got back home and I was like typing in the computer, writing, oh, I figured out this scene. I'm gonna include him in. And I was like, yeah, it's not great. It was great in the moment, but yeah, you have to be careful about this, using that as a inspiration of the moment and making it a story, because it's too emotional.
Very true. And it's bad if like because like the play that I wrote that you read, I wrote that in like June. I don't even remember when that class ended, but my parents still haven't read it yet. And not that I don't want them to read it, it's just like we have a lot of very different views on a lot of very important things that are pretty much just.
What do you mean?
Okay, fine.
Without getting into much detail, as much as you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I think when it comes to relationships and how women are supposed to act in relationships, like pursuing relationships versus taking a totally passive kind of course, I feel like we differ a lot when it comes to that. And sex, obviously, is a very interesting topic. It's usually not a topic in my
To discuss with your parents, yeah.
like. I don't want to like decry them for that. Like it's not like it's a bad thing necessarily, but the reason they haven't read it yet is because I thought I was going to be back in New York at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to like slide it into their inboxes and like disappear to and then talk about it.
Yeah.
Because like they know, they're like, yeah, you're grown now. You're going to make what you're going to make. Like as long as you're not like slandering us, like we're going to be fine, you know. And I have to trust them that they will be okay.
What if they open the play, they read it, and then they FaceTime you? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna just run away and not answer them?
I will answer. I will not. But I think I don't know. This is me totally being like a total coward. I feel like a FaceTime call is a lot better than me being here in person.
Yeah.
I feel like we can approach it from a much more like academic point of view. Like this is what this metaphor is kind of talking about. There's no point where I'm like trying to call out my parents. Like
No.
Not exactly. Not in like, like you did this and it messed me up in the head. Like why would I do that? That's not.
Yeah, but would they see you in the play? Is that what you're afraid of?
I mean,
you're just scared about the subject matter.
Yeah, that's literally it. It's just the subject matter because it's just like, I mean, I do talk to my parents about these sort of things, but I don't ever personalize it, like
right.
they about it as like a concept or like theories on, sex and relationships. I never talk about it. And the only times that we have talked about it, it's not been in a really great context, so it's like,
yeah,
it'll be interesting for sure. It'll just a blanket statement. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. That's the thing about creativity. It's you. If it's not you, then I don't know what you're doing, honestly. It's your heart.
Yeah, exactly.
So back to growing up. How did you develop that creative process or that creativity? And what did you do first? Like acting, writing?
Yeah. So I guess the first thing I did was a show choir, which is like singing.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is funny because when I was very young, when I was like from ages like 0 to like 6, I was a really kind of shy and reserved young person, which is funny looking back on it now. But like when I was a kid, I did not like talking to people I did not know. I was very quiet. My church would always have like little programs that they put on, and I hated it. I absolutely hated getting up in front of the whole church, which was like a couple hundred people. I had to say Christmas joy. That was my whole line. That was the only thing I said. I got up there and I froze. So my dad had to come pick me up and say Christmas joy into the microphone and then like take me away. Like,
oh wow, yeah.
I hated it.
That's how I was too. My first time, I was scared.
Yeah, it's scary. It's a weird thing to like get up in front of people and do stuff.
The stage is frightening too. People are frightening. The stage is frightening. It's high.
Why am I elevated right now?
Yeah, exactly.
But my mom, I'm very. Hold on. Let me think of what I want to say. Like this, like okay. Culturally, I have a lot of cards stacked against me, and I have a lot of cards stacked in my favor. And that the card stacked in my favor.
Explain what's culturally like. You mean like race stuff?
Yeah, race stuff, just like in the context of the United States, right? Or
yeah.
Being a Black woman, you can be card stacked against you.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents have been working their asses off since they were born, and it's because of my grandparents and my great grandparents, because they instilled this like work ethic in them. It's like no matter what you do, you have to do it 10 times better than everyone else around you, because you won't get any recognition for doing it just as well as anybody else, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, my parents busted their behinds, went to medical school, things like that. So I've had a lot of opportunity, especially like education wise.
So your parents are doctors, or?
Both of them. My dad is a cardiologist. My mom is a psychologist. So my dad's always telling me,
Wow.
and my mom is always psychoanalyzing me. So it's so it's a really great combo.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
So they're not artistic.
not necessarily. Like they both
Yeah.
like this, for sure. My
Yeah.
mom grew up playing piano and violin, and my dad is a clarinet player.
Okay.
So they like it, and they
Yeah.
like theater and things like that, you know. But I mean, they are not artists first; they're scientists first. Um,
Yeah.
so my parents, like, you know, I have that privilege of having, like, you know, really well-off parents, right? And then they, you know, they see the potential of the, you know, the discrimination and things that I could face as a Black woman. So my mom's like, listen, like, I don't want you to feel like you can't talk to people. I don't want you to feel like, you know, people are scary. I want you to feel confident in yourself to just do whatever you want to do. So I'm going to force you to do show choir. And so that's how it happened. When I was like 6, she forced me into this thing called Summer Show Offs, which is a show choir summer camp. And you, like, we have like 5 song and dance numbers, and every individual has to sing a solo at some point. And
Right.
that was the part that scared the crap out of me. Cause like, you know, I didn't really sing as a kid, and it was terrifying to me to sing in front of people that I did not know. I didn't like singing in front of my parents. But after doing that camp, I went back the next year and the next year, and I did it for like 8 years straight or something. Like I absolutely fell in.
So you already knew you could sing?
No, I did not.
No. Okay.
It's just kind of like, you know, happenstance. Like,
So that moment, like, that was the starting point, I guess.
so that was when I kind of got like the theater acting stage bug or whatever. I was like, oh, like I like standing in front of people, and
Yeah.
fun. Not,
So you did summer camps, and then when did you figure out you could sing or act or whatever?
yeah, I mean, I did summer camps, and because I had started with kind of like a musical route, I started doing musical theater summer camps. So we would do like junior musicals, like High School Musical Junior and
Right.
Junior. And, you know, I did those for like 6 years or something. And the first like 3 years, I was always just like, you know, one of the dancers or something. And then like after that time, because I had, you know, been practicing a lot, they started to notice like, oh, you can actually kind of sing now. Oh, you can dance well. Oh, you can kind of act, kind of.
Yeah.
So we'll cast you in like some more of the lead roles. And then I, you know, started to really kind of get a feel for myself on stage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I started like I was wearing like costumes all the time as a kid, and I didn't know I would like acting, or like I started singing too, but now I've lost it, obviously, because I've not practiced it, and I've never like followed lessons or anything. But acting, yeah, I started like I would go to coffee shop at as a 4-year-old, or even I think younger than that, and in costume.
Oh, cute.
And yeah, I would dress as Batman. I would dress as Peter Pan. I would dress, yeah. So yeah, and it started like that. Uh, I wouldn't go anywhere as myself, honestly. I don't know. And then I started putting on shows at my home. Like every time my mom would have guests, I would like throw them a show. But when I was talking to them in person, like I was shy, you know, but when I was doing my show, now Gabriel came out, the character
Yeah.
came out, and I was comfortable in that.
That's
Yeah.
so
So yeah, it's weird how it happens. I guess you have to like kind of do a little bit of, I don't know. It's like you said, like going on a stage in front of choir and just experiencing it. You have to do it and just see how it feels. For some people, it doesn't work.
really just not. Yeah. But for it's just the act of doing it, like you said.
Yeah,
give it a shot, and it might literally change your life.
I don't know if some people are born and they're like, oh, I'm a singer. I don't know. That's weird. I'll have David on next, so I'll ask him that if he knew if he was born a singer. I don't think so, but yeah, it's weird how it happens.
Yeah.
What came first, the singing or the acting, or everything at the same time?
Technically, I mean, okay, honestly, probably dancing came first because like my made me do ballet since I was like 3 or whatever. But then I did the show choir stuff, so it was like singing and dancing. But like, yeah, so I guess acting didn't really come into the equation until I was, 10 maybe, which is interesting because that's my favorite to do. That's my favorite to do of the three. Acting just gives you some sort of rush. I don't know. Like I've never before, but I feel like it's a similar feeling. But yeah, no, it's amazing. I would have to rank it acting, then singing, and then dancing. Dancing's great, but it's not the same feeling for me.
I did dancing too. It didn't. Yeah, it was good. I was just the only thing I think I would do. I've actually thought about starting dance lessons or something, but yeah, it was a rough time because I was enjoying it, but I was in high school, and you know how boys are. They think because you're a dancer, you're gay or whatever. Your femininity comes out. So it's weird. It's weird. So that kind of discouraged me. But I was already acting at that point, so I was like, oh, I have that. I don't. And at some point, I didn't care, but it's just a lot of bullying can turn you off to things.
That sucks so much. I mean, like, how many amazing male dancers have we missed out on because?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you must be. I mean, ballet, really?
Yeah. It was fun. We were dancing High School Musical when the first one came out. We were dancing those basketball numbers, and it was fun.
Oh, that's so fun. Oh my God, I miss that. What a
time. We were Troy and the gang, yeah. So yeah. So when did you start writing?
That's a good question. I mean, I've always liked telling stories. That's always been like, a thing that I've really enjoyed. I remember, we used to have to do these things in 5th grade where we would have like a vocabulary list.
Yeah.
And we would have to make us write a story using all 10 vocabulary words, right? Which would always make for some very interesting stories because the vocabulary words never made any sense together, but whatever. And so whenever we would get assignments like that, I was like so lit. I was like, yes, like let's go. I would write like a 5-page story about like all this crazy stuff. I always loved writing about magic when I was a kid because I was like, one day I'm gonna wake up and have superpowers. I promise you. So I would always write about that. And then I realized I was like, oh, like I kind of like this writing thing, I guess, right? And then we started having to write essays and things like for, the 5-paragraph essay became a reality for me. And I had a lot of really tough English teachers who like told me that my writing sucked. And so I was like, okay, cool.
Wow. They said that.
Oh yeah. 10th grade. Cause I decided to transition into like the honors writing program or whatever.
Okay. Wow.
And he was like, we had really stupid like hierarchy of like classes. There's like CP, which is like college prep, EP, which is enlightened prep, HP, which is honors prep, and then AP, which is like advanced prep, whatever. So stupid. It doesn't mean anything. They just like move a little bit faster than the other classes.
Yeah.
I was in EP writing or EP English freshman year of high school, and I did well. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll try honors sophomore year. And so I did that, and I turned in my first essay. She gave me a D. And she's like, hey, like she took me back after class, and she's like, so I know you were in EP last year. You have to understand that this is honors. You're in honors now. And I was like, okay.
Oh wow.
We ended up having a good relationship. Like, she scared the crap out of me at the beginning, but we ended up having a good relationship, and she really, I think that was a very pivotal moment for my writing, you know.
Yeah,
Um
I'm sure. Yeah. Those
and
moments you remember forever, for sure.
I will never forget being told, like, you're gonna have to step it up, sweetie. It was very much that tone. I was like, okay. Um, but yeah, from then on, writing came a lot easier to me.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I really like it. Like, there's just something so satisfying about like stringing
Mm-hmm.
words together that makes sense and then also sound really good. And it's like low key poetic. I'm like, wow, like I did that shit, you know?
Yeah. When you have a big imagination, it's and you nurture it, then and you keep writing, that's when you start to love it because you create stuff that are original. And yeah, yeah.
It's so exciting. I don't
But
know.
you don't. That's the thing. That's what's interesting about this podcast is this episode is that we're not born writers, we're not born singers. That's funny, you know. That's hilarious that we like, oh, I'm a writer, but yeah, I wasn't born that way.
And I think, that's the danger of like, when you realize somebody has a talent for something, telling them, oh my God, you're so talented. Yes, hype them up, let them know that they're talented, but you have to follow up the talent with work.
Yeah,
You just, I mean, like, you don't want to just, be wasted potential. Like, yes, you have a talent for something, but like there's someone who is working their behind off to have what you have. And if you just sit here on this talent, they're going to surpass you and they're going to do big things, right? While you're just kind of like, well, but I'm talented though. I'm like, well, talent only goes so far. So
yeah.
you're not born anything, right?
No,
Like,
you have to work at it. That's for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking as you said that what if your parents, instead of putting you on a church choir stage, they just brought you to a farm or something like. But I guess also they might have done that, and you didn't like it as much as like you like the stage, you know. So it's kind of weird how things happen and what you like, what you don't like, and yeah, you have to like it first and then you have to work at it because it's not easy. And it's great that you like it, and it's great that you're passionate, and I guess that makes up for a little bit of your talent. But if you don't work at it, forget it.
Yeah, exactly. Because if it was easy, everybody would do it. Like,
Yeah,
that's whenever I'm in an acting course, I feel like that always comes up. They're like, this shit is hard,
yeah,
right? Like, everyone, like, I don't know one person who wouldn't want to be like on camera or on, well, I guess that's not necessarily true, but like, there's just so much like glitz and
there's a
glamour.
lot of people that would be willing to go on camera.
Exactly. But it's like not everybody does it because it's not that easy. You can't just roll out of bed and
Yeah,
get an Oscar worthy performance. Like, it does not happen in a day.
no, and you see that with reality stars. You know, their first few days are horrible in front of the camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not it's not comfortable for them.
Hmm. Like, what is this? Can I look in the lens or like, ugh.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird. So let's talk about acting for a second. So how does your creative brain work when you're creating a character or you're reading a script, or yeah, how does it work for your character? We all have a process.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I feel like my process is like ever changing. When I was much younger and like the theater was like very new to me, um, the first thing they would always make us do were like make character sheets. Like, it did not matter like, if your character was named or not, if you were just a person in ensemble, if you were like, dancer, duologue dancer number 7, like they would make you sit down and like come up with a whole life story for your character. And I really did like doing that, especially for like non-named characters that don't have a story. That worked really well for me.
Yeah.
Um, but then, as I've gotten older, it's definitely changed a lot. I don't know. Like, and I guess it also depends on the production I'm in and a little bit on the
Yeah.
also. But last summer I did this camp with David.
David Marino, next on the podcast. Yeah.
We did this summer musical theater intensive, and in our acting course, it was we were very much just focused on like being ourselves in a certain situation.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work for everything. Sometimes you have to, you have like character acting that you need to do. But for these scenes that were just supposed to be very just raw interpersonal scenes, it was just like, let me take on the circumstances of this scene and of this person, and like, how would I react if I were a 45-year-old woman whose son had passed away, which was my scene.
Yeah.
It passed away in he had gone to war is what it was, and he had been killed in war. And so I was just like, okay, here's a sort of circumstances that I've never experienced. I don't know what it's like to be 45. I don't know what it's like to have a child. I don't know what it's like to lose a child. Like,
I don't know either,
Yeah, right? These are very like circumstances I don't know anything about, but it's just
I can't help you, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, just thinking, I feel like acting is just so much more about empathy than anything else, really. At least it's just like, how would I feel? How would I react to people?
Yeah.
If that message has happened to me, people kept calling my character like weird and stuff because she was acting strange. Yeah, she's acting strange. You know what I'm saying? Like, she just went through this crazy life-changing event. So it's just like, I don't know. It's a practice in empathy for me. But it also
it is. It's understanding people. It's it's you have to believe this is like your sister or somebody it's a human being. And it's but we all have our different process. But I think that's the root of it, though. Like, if you're not playing if you're working on a special project that doesn't call for a human being, if you're like a lion, for sure, that's not gonna matter, I guess. But they have feelings too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you can't relate to them as much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It kind of depends. Like, I was in an acting course 2 semesters ago. And I liked, like, my professor was a total idiot. I did not like this guy. He was the kind of guy that, like, there's this young woman who was Chinese in the class, and English is not her first language, but she speaks English well because she's been practicing the language for a very long time, obviously. But he commented, he's like, wow, you speak really good English. He's one of those. So whatever. So I didn't appreciate him, but I liked the environment of the class because the students were really great. And his idea was just like, listen, like, you're gonna get these scenes. Don't pay any attention to like the written stage directions and stuff like that. Just do what you want to do. Just go up there and have a conversation with somebody, right?
Right.
Which I think is a lot of fun. And we obviously, not every director is like this. There are going to be a lot of directors who are like, do exactly what is written and do what I'm telling you to do. But he was just like, do whatever you want. Yeah. You can, I don't care. So that can be a lot of fun too. And I had a lot of really fun moments in that class where it's just like, like, sometimes I'll come into the scene like angry. I'm going to be angry this time. And I'm just going to see how this person reacts. I just want to see what you do. And it was always just so much fun to like, just come in with different energies and just see how which I think is a lot of fun, especially in a work process, like, even if you don't keep it for the show, just like learning how to mix it up and to make every night a little bit,
but some people don't give you anything sometimes, and they're like, oh, I have to do everything.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. You cut out. What did you say?
It's like you want me to carry the scene. Like, thanks for that.
Nothing stays buried forever, especially not the past.
Yesterday is not yet gone. a mystery novel by Gabriel Veiga, host of the Very Creative Podcast. Available now, paperback and digital. GabrielVeiga.com. Buy it now.
Yeah. So I guess one of the questions I have was how does, like, when you wake up in the morning, do you feel creative, or when does it happen?
Sometimes I wake
Does it happen?
Yeah. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, hell yeah, let's write something today. A lot of the times, no. Sometimes it's just like something really funny will happen. I'm like, oh my God, I want to remember that. So like I have like a book that I write stuff in that's kind of like part journal, part writing journal or whatever. It's just like, oh, this is really funny. Let me write about this. There was once we went out on, there's like a lake, you know, in Georgia that we go out on sometimes, and our boat got beached. We literally got beached, and we had to like call people over to help us push our boat off of the sand. And I was like, that's hysterical. And I, you know, like I would have journaled that, but I just wrote it in a writing book. And it's just like,
so you journal, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a journal. Like, will it ever show up in something that I write? Maybe, probably not. But like, as I'm flipping through, I'll be like, oh, that's funny, you know? And sometimes that'll, you know, it'll show up somehow in something that I do.
Yeah. I never use, like, people say, oh, one of my friends said, oh, carry a notebook all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I never read my ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I just heard from Stephen King that he said, that's where like bad ideas live forever.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, if it's going to stay with you, it's going to stay with you. You don't need a notebook for that. So that's a no for me, you know?
That's fine.
But yeah, because I was curious about that question, because for me, like, I need to wake up early, or when I wake up, I need to work on my things, because after 3 hours of me awake, it's like I'm already like used. I'm already like, that's where I'm the most active, when I wake up. I'm energized, I'm fresh, you know.
That's interesting.
It's weird because people work at night, and I'm like, how do you do it?
I was about to say, I feel like I'm the exact opposite. Like, I've been trying to get up earlier recently, which I have, and I like it because I like being productive earlier in the day. But like, when it comes to like creativity,
yeah,
it's just like, when it happens, and usually it's at night. I don't know. I think the way my brain's set up, I was born to be a night owl, you know what I'm saying? And so it's just so easy for me to like think of something at midnight and be like, oh, we're going to be writing this until 4 a.m.
Yeah. That's weird. Like, I never, like, being a morning person and being a creative morning person, it's, I never understood that. Like, cause I feel I wake up and then I write, and then I just, like, I have to do it in the morning. I've done it at night, and I'm like, no, because I feel like I'm using myself all throughout the day. And then when it comes to, let's say 6 p.m., 7 p.m., I'm like, I'm tired now. Now it's time to watch a movie. Now it's time to do that. Like, I'm not in that mood anymore. So it's weird.
That's interesting.
So yeah.
No. Like, sometimes the morning will be nice for me, but most of the time I'm trying to wake up for the 3 hours. For the 3 hours that you're working, I'm trying to wake up.
Yeah. So how do you calm your anxiety of, like, creative things can create anxiety, and life can create anxiety, but creative blocks can create anxiety. How do you cure that?
I'm honestly still trying to figure that out, because
you said you run, though.
I do run. That does help.
You told me that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've started running in the mornings, which is great. And there's this giant hill out in my backyard, like not my backyard, but like right outside of my house, and it feels like a 90-degree angle, which is great for like aggression, because I like just try to sprint as hard as I can, and I'm like absolutely dead by the time I get to the top.
Aggression. Oh, you mean for yourself? I thought there were guys coming out of bushes.
No. For me, it's for me.
Okay, you're not running away from someone.
No. But yeah, so I mean, that's nice, but like for the past couple of weeks, I've had such a moment where it's like I feel like I'm not producing anything, and I really
same.
want to be, you know? It's not just like I feel like a pressure, like I have to be working. Like, of course we all kind of feel that, but like I wanted to be making things and I couldn't make it happen. So I was just like, okay, how can I make myself feel a little bit better? So, you know, definitely being like, I've tried to like limit my time on the internet because I follow a lot of people that are like really, you know, out here doing things. And a lot of times it's inspiring, but when I'm not feeling inspired, it can just be like, oh my God, like all these people are out here doing things and I want to be doing things and I can't. So I'm like, let me turn on my phone because that's stupid and toxic. And I'll just do things that I know make me feel good. Like I have a little journal that I'll like make like collages in. I'll just like cut shit out of magazines and like paste it together.
I mean, you have to, like, if you're like me, you have to be doing something creative. Like, otherwise you're like, oh, I'm on the couch. I feel like I'm not using my talent. I feel like it's great because watching movies is great because you actually learn about stories and you learn about things. For writing, it's great. Even for acting, it's great. But at some point, you're like, great, I have the knowledge, but like I have over, like I have this over knowledge.
Right,
but
yeah.
if that is even a word, but yeah, it's at some point you're like, oh, I got to create stuff because there's got to be a balance. I still have to like inform myself and watch content and read stuff, but yeah, I got to produce.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird. Yeah,
You gotta
so
find
yeah,
yeah.
it's weird, especially in this time, you know, because we had a lot of free time and and at some point, yeah, that's the thing. The quarantine is to blame, but it is also a creative period. And at some point, you have to be like, okay, like enough blaming the quarantine and the pandemic. We all know we're in a pandemic. We all know that, but we have to keep living and we have to keep fulfilling ourselves. And yeah, we have to be working, you know. Yeah, so I set my alarm at 5:30 a.m. and I've been working that hour, you know, from 5:30 to 6:30. I'm like, I'm gonna be writing for an hour. That's it, you know. That's when I'm most. I know, but that's when I'm most alive, and that's when I have my ideas. And most mornings I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to write. I don't, but I just sit there and I do it. And I put this app on my computer that doesn't disturb me. So, and it blocks my phone too. So I can't go on any of it. So I'm blocked for an hour.
Yeah.
I can turn on the TV, but I won't do it. Like, you know, so I just write and it comes out. It comes out. And I hope it's great.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of doing it is just forcing yourself to be in the space to do it. Like butt in seat, pen to paper, like fingers on keyboard, whatever. Just like forcing yourself to just be there. And even if nothing happens, if you're just writing the same word over and over again, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't a great hour, but whatever. But like you do it every single day, and then it's a habit. It's a habit at that point.
What I
That's
do, especially for my novel writing, but I would, because I was writing scripts before, and I like to keep me writing from day to day. I like write what I want to write that morning, and then I start the next chapter, and I leave it there. I start like a paragraph or whatever, and then I continue from there the next morning because I know where I'm going. You know, so that's my kind of trick to keep going.
got you.
You know, because I stopped myself at some point. I'm like, enough, and you do it because yeah, you have to. And then the other morning something else comes up, but you stop yourself and then you do it the next morning. You know.
That's cool. I like
Yeah,
that.
it's
Might have
weird.
to steal from your toolbox.
Yeah, yeah. It's we're very weird people, but yeah, like we said before when we were talking about acting and everything, it's if you don't work at it, forget it.
Absolutely.
you're wasting your talent, honestly.
Yeah.
And yeah, as much as talented you think you are, if you don't work at it, yeah.
Might as well just, yeah, like you're collecting
And it's
dust.
hard. It's hard for me. Like, it's hard for me to work at it. It's like
Absolutely.
I would want to be on the couch all the time and watching things, or listening to music or reading, whatever, something fun. Sometimes being creative is not fun. Sometimes you just have to do it because later it's gonna like fulfill you. You're gonna be happy about it.
Exactly. Yeah. The work sucks sometimes. And
Yeah,
sometimes,
most times.
yeah, a lot of the time. And sometimes you produce absolute BS. And you
Yeah.
know it's BS, but
And you have to know that it's BS
yes.
too.
But that's the thing. It's like
But that comes with time too.
it comes with time, and that's
But you have to do it.
I forget who I heard this from, but they said your taste develops a lot faster than your skill.
But if you don't do it, you'll never know.
But then you'll never know. Exactly. So it's just like, give yourself a break. Like, don't be so hard on yourself, but still force yourself to work on it,
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, that's it.
Yeah.
All right. One last important question before I let you go.
Yeah.
I think it's important for people. I'm asking selfishly for me, but with all that's going on, I want people to hear this. First of all, I don't know how you feel about the Black Lives Matter movement right now. It's great that they're making arrests and everything, but there's not much going on. Like I feel like it was just a trend, and it's sad.
It happens. It's
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah. So I guess my question for me, selfishly, but as a white creator, I have Portuguese, but I'm still white. I'm tainted. But how can I help without forcing things? Like without forcing things in my writing? How can I help? How can we help?
Yeah. Honestly, just using the privilege that you have to make space for other people. A case in point, my friend Nicole, who's Mexican, has a brother who is starting this magazine called Frida Voices, and they want to do an issue on beauty, and they want to be able to they want to include all sorts of people, all walks of life, and they want to have an article about hair. And so they wanted to do have a conversation about Black hair, but they didn't know any Black people in their inner circle. And they're just like, how do we represent these people without seeming like we're pandering, without getting things wrong? And Nicole, my friend, she was just like, dude, just ask Jaylen. She writes, she's Black. Give her an opportunity to write for you. And I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. You just use the platforms that you have to make space for people,
And even if you don't know people, you're already connected on the internet. So why, you already know so many people you don't actually know, because we've met once in person, but we've talked online. Yeah. So I feel like I know you, and so use those connections, I guess.
Exactly. It's that simple. The people that I'm writing for, I've never met them in person. I know them through my friend, right? Yeah. But we've made a connection. We had a Zoom call today talking about, how I'm going to help them out, blah, blah, blah. It's that simple, it's we get so upset when we see, in film and things like that, where, they have a white person playing, a Latina person, or they have, a white person playing an Asian person or something. It's we're not in short supply. You can find people who are the actual people that you're looking for. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We exist, and there are a lot of us in the States, especially, when you're talking about Hollywood. So it's reach out to those people. You know?
But what do you say to people that are, I mean, it's kind of a ridiculous question to ask, but for me, I've realized, especially with this movement, that my brain is wired in a certain way where I think in my mind, most of my characters are white. I rarely think about Black characters, right. And it or Asians or whatever, it's weird. It's weird how it works.
Yeah. It's and that's such an interesting it's kind of a tightrope to walk, because then if you start writing a bunch of Black characters, people will be like, what the fuck are you doing? You don't know what you're talking about.
That's where my question comes from, I guess.
Yeah, that's hard. I don't know. I feel like I have mixed feelings about it. Like,
or would you say, oh, only Black people can write Black characters? Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of difficult, isn't it?
It's so hard, because I don't feel like, okay, these issues are totally different, but it's kind of like, okay, when you think about men writing women characters, like that's not
exactly, yeah,
you know, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not like people get up in arms because you're a dude, you don't know what it's like to be a woman, right? Oh, it's so complicated, because like my instinct is to say, you know,
I think it's great to hear, yeah, that it's not that simple.
It's, yeah, exactly. It's just like my instinct is to say, like, you know, you can write people who aren't like you, but also, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about a Black experience. But then if you say that, then it's like, why are you writing this person and completely divorcing them from the culture that they probably would be part of if they were a real person? I've really gone back and forth on this a lot, and I don't know if I have an answer.
I mean, for me, it's mostly like, if you're giving permission to people to write, like, you can write the story you want with the characters you want, you know, and like, if there is you're talking about the Black family, of course, like, it's going to be a Black family, and you're going to have to like write a Black family, but you can't, like, if you start giving permission to people, they're going to only write white characters. So you have to, or whatever their nationality is, but I'm mostly talking about white people. And you have to be conscious about the world, and because writing and creativity and entertainment is representation. It's not just, I'm going to write this for myself, you know? It's art, you know? It's something that we want an audience. And also, it's not only about the audience, it's about like being like respectful of people and being representative of people, and saying this is actually the story that's happening, that could happen in the real world. So yeah, it's kind of a tightrope to walk on, but you have to be conscious, and you don't have to force it too. It's weird. It's a weird dynamic.
Exactly.
But I think it's, yeah.
You're writing for what could be like modern day America, modern day, you know, Canada, whatever, especially if you're writing in a very realistic, grounded kind of way, then you have to be very, very conscious of it. Like, I mean, like, if we're talking like, I don't know,
No, but let's say you're writing about the mafia. Like, I've gotten this note at some point. I was writing a script for the mafia, and they were like, oh, there's not enough diversity in that. Like, most of the characters are going to be Italian. And it's the 80s. I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, that's a good note, but it's also the mafia, you know?
Yeah, right. It's
so, yeah.
Yeah. And then I feel like that begs the question, like, because it's like, I guess I'm thinking more about like film now. Like, people are like, oh, like, why are we still doing like the same type of movies with all like, you know, white characters? Great question. But then it's also, we have to think about like, what stories are we telling, and like, what is our motivation for telling these stories? Because it's like, yeah, we can make another mafia movie, like, that'd be lit, you know, but because of the makeup of the people, it's probably going to be pretty monochromatic, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you're wanting to be more diverse, pull from a more diverse stories, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like, especially in Hollywood, they make it so much more complicated than it has to be. They're just like, but we're telling these stories where it wouldn't make a lot of sense. It would be a total anachronism to see a Black person in this situation. Then maybe we choose another story this time, you know?
What? You cut out. What?
I said if that's really like that big of a deal, like, oh, like seeing this, Black person in this situation would be like a total anachronism. It doesn't make any sense. And in this time period, maybe we choose a different story to tell this time.
Yeah.
You
Or
know?
you do like Hamilton did, and you
Yeah.
just
Or you can
use
just
history.
throw all the rules out and just
Yeah.
rewrite the whole thing,
Yeah. But it's hard to do that with every project.
Also true.
Yeah.
Also very true.
But I think it's important for people to hear that they have to be conscious and they have to make effort without forcing it. It's hard, but they have to inform themselves. They have to watch a lot, and people have done it well. Some people have not done it well, but you have to get out there and watch stuff and take example from people that have done it well and continue to do it well.
Right.
And to just like you said, reach out to your friends, reach out to even if you don't have Black friends or Asian friends or whatever, just connect with them on Instagram or go to a class, acting class, and you'll meet. Hopefully, the class is not only white people, Yeah.
And also like art can be very collaborative. Like we all know this, right? And it's like if you are writing a story where you feel it's absolutely necessary for this person to be this ethnicity or this nationality or of this culture that you don't know anything about, like we were talking about, reach out to people and like, co-write something,
Yeah.
or just like let them be like the advisor for this character,
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be in touch with you.
Yeah.
All right. I have one more thing. I asked somebody to ask a question for you.
Oh, fun.
I don't
That's
know
so
if I
cute.
hold on. I have to find it. So I asked somebody to ask you a question. Maybe you know that person. I don't know. But let's go see.
Oh.
Hold on. I'll put it. There we go.
Yeah,
So maybe you know this person.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. Oh, wait, I can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
I can't hear it.
Okay, I'll show you on my phone now.
I'm very curious what he just said.
So, hey Jaylen, so I was just like wondering, like, what's your favorite color?
David Marino, you're one of my favorite people ever. My favorite color is blue. It always has been and it always will be. Blue is the best color ever and no one will ever change my mind.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me replay it. He's just got a funny face. It's great. Yeah. And then you can ask him a question I'm interviewing him tomorrow.
That's great.
Hey Jaylen, so I was just like wondering, like, what's your favorite color?
Oh my God. David,
Yeah.
what? That's great. That's a great
Yeah.
question. I'm glad he asked.
So blue. Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So quickly, what's your feel-good movie?
Ooh, fuck, I don't know. I don't have like a go-to. One that I watched recently that was really funny was Lovebirds on Netflix. That's a fun.
Yeah. Okay. Feel-good TV show.
Oh,
Because I asked this because if you're creative, for me, like when I'm like, oh, my brain is used up, I watch feel-good things. That make me feel good.
I don't have my like go-tos, but
Feel-good TV show. Yeah.
I really love Avatar. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
The animated show, right?
Yes, the animated.
Okay, I've never watched it. Feel-good song.
Good. That's feel good. You should watch Avatar. It'll make you feel great. Favorite song?
Feel-good song. Something that makes you feel good.
What's something that makes me feel good? I really like the song. Oh my God. I like the song. Fuck. They're like 30 in my head right now. Okay. I like the song All For Us with Zendaya.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I just discovered it too. Euphoria.
It's such
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. She's my celebrity crush. It's just putting that up.
Me too. That woman is gorgeous.
Yeah. She's great. Okay, feel good musical.
Ooh, Pippin.
Never seen that.
It's wild. You should watch it. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jaylen Taylor. Do you want to plug your podcast and your YouTube?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm on the podcast in wave now.
Are you gonna do more? Actually,
I'm gonna do more. Yes, my brother got me a microphone for my birthday. He hooked me up. It's gorgeous. I have to figure out how to use it. I don't know how to use it. But it's called POV, which stands for Public Obnoxious Venting, and it's just me bitching about things that bother me. And also I am on the YouTubes. It's just Jaylen Taylor. So check it out.
yeah, she's awesome. People, check everything. Check her Instagram too.
I hang out on there a lot.
Yeah, it was great. All right, thank you so much for my first episode. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
I'm very excited.
And I picked a name.
Which is?
The Very Creative Podcast.
10 out of 10. Beautiful. You
Yeah.
did it. You done did it good.
All right, see ya.
All right.
You've been listening to The Very Creative Podcast with Gabriel Veiga. Catch us next week for an all-new episode. To find out more, go to gabrielveiga.com/podcast and follow us on social media at The Very Creative Podcast. To watch on video, go to YouTube and search for The Very Creative Podcast and subscribe. See you next week.